Hi there. Welcome to Have You Asked Your Dad? This is the podcast where we ask dads questions that they often don't get asked. In today's episode, the language gets really heated because we're talking about swearing. So, have you ever asked your dad about swearing? Just a bit of a warning at the top of this podcast. There is going to be some swear words, but we have endeavored to beep it all out. That being said, probably not the best idea to listen to this episode in the car with your children because even though all the words are beeped out, you can still kind of know what we're saying. But this is an adult conversation for adults, and we would love to know your thoughts about swearing. Do you swear in front of your kids? Did your parents ever swear in front of you? What was that like? Let us know. Send us an email to hyaydpod@gmail.com or get us on Instagram. Just search for Have You Asked Your Dad? But right now, let's talk about swearing. Good morning, Captain Lutz.
Captain Lutz. I don't know if anybody has ever called me that. But you know what you've just triggered as a memory for me? The fact that my primary school teacher recognized my surname, Lutz, and decided there and then for me that the Afrikaans spelling is better, which is with a D as opposed to a T, and simply started to call me pilot because a Lutz is a pilot. The direct translation of Lutz, L-O-O-D-S, is pilot. So then, from those days in, I was pilot. It didn't stick. None of the other kids picked up on it. They didn't quite get the connection.
That would have been so cool, though, to have
I
a
know.
nickname like Pilot.
If only. That would have been rad.
Yeah. As opposed to like Lippe or Lange or
Yeah.
Kopper. Pilot is downright awesome.
Not as cool as Maverick, but pilot, yes.
Yeah,
it would be up there.
Yeah.
It would be up there. Did you have a pick nickname at school? Did any...
The only nickname I ever had at school was Nostradamus. Because someone. Now, the thing is, I don't have a particularly big nose. And the people who were making fun of me had bigger noses than I did. There was just this, for some reason, amongst my friends and guys in my class, they just got into their head that I had a particularly big nose. And then that stuck. So,
the mob mentality, huh?
I don't understand. Like, it was just one of those things. It was like the Emperor's New Clothes, where it's like, but that doesn't make any sense. Your nostrils are bigger than mine. Why are you making fun of me? And obviously with this kind of thing, the more you plead your case, the more they dig in and the harder it sticks.
Yeah.
So that was a big lesson for me about just going with the flow.
And for them, maybe the very first lessons they got in the art of deflection. Look over there, his nostrils rather. Don't look at mine.
Yes. And how much fun it is just to get Terrence riled up.
Yeah.
And people having fun with that my entire life. Just watching me like, someone saying like, Schitt's Creek is better than Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I'm like, what the are you talking about? What is wrong with you? And they're like, giggling in the background.
But you're riled up there. That brings me to the conversation that I'd like to have today around swearing, around cuss words, around feeling that rage and wanting to let it out. Now, it's all fine and well, it seems, as we become adults, to do so in adult company. But when you've got kids around, there seems to be a different feeling with regards to using swear words. I don't know what your initial stance is on swearing in the home or swearing as a dad, but today's episode is, have you asked your dad about swearing?
That is interesting because I have noticed more and more parents are comfortable swearing around their little kids because for them it's just like it's the way they speak. It's just part of their language. And I mean, we've had to fight very hard not to, you go into your friend's house and they swear in front of their kids. You can't tell someone else not to swear in their own house. But then how do you manage that process with your own child?
Yes.
is the big deal. My thought about swearing was always it is a powerful tool that you weaken by overusing. Right? So I don't swear often. I don't curse at people. I don't do that kind of stuff. But when I do, it lands because everyone's like, oh my word, Terrence must be really angry if he's swearing. Like he must have really lost his cool. Like things must be really bad for Terrence to be swearing. So a well-placed... Are we going to put beeps, by the way,
I mean,
over.
if you're happy to do the editing, I'm fine.
I'll put well-timed beeps, or I'll just cut out the word. So like a well-timed, I'll just say it. It's weird because I can't even like. It's a struggle for me just to say it now in polite company, just to like say it out loud. What if I'm home alone, no one's gonna hear me.
Yeah.
And yet, but a well-placed really
it hits.
feels good sometimes.
Yeah.
What about you? Are you a swearer? I don't think I've ever heard you swear.
Yeah, I was listening to you talking through exactly your process now with regards to people that hear you swear and they go, whoa, he must be mad. It's very similar in my case. I'm not the one that uses swear words often. And they are definitely, I agree 100% with you. If it's well placed, it's well timed. There's something about the stress relief that comes with saying things like or just, like, shit. I tend to use what I term as lesser swear words more, all right? And I'll come back to what I consider to be a lesser swear word in just a bit. And listening to you talk about how you are alone at home and you're even now struggling just to say the word to me in conversation like this, it reminds me that growing up, I never heard my parents swear. I'm now 40 odd, and I think I've heard my dad swear once. And I don't know that I've heard my mom. She'll say things, and this is maybe where I come with lesser. It's like I think I might have heard her say something like, right, and that's like the extent of it. Like I don't think she's gone beyond that, at least not in my company. And this now takes me back to a trip to the US where I was a camp counselor at a swimming camp, and having heard my friends, my high school friends, varsity friends swear, I'm quite comfortable with hearing words like that, right? I don't use them very often, but and in a camp situation where you've got youngsters from the ages of 8 and upwards through to varsity age, because now you've got varsity athletes that are working as counselors as well, the kids wouldn't go as far as to say heck. American kids, heck was like the extreme.
Whoa.
And to me, I was like, why can't I just say, oh, hell no. No, you've said hell. Hell is too much of a swear word. Yeah, hell is really bad in all contexts. And I was like,
okay, but was this camp in like the Bible Belt, stateside,
Alabama? What do you reckon?
Yeah, that's solid. That's deep.
So that also was like, where? It was a bit of a mind, I suppose. Like, where am I? What is going on here? Why? We've got different levels of what is and what isn't considered a really harsh word. And then it brings me back to kids and kid scenarios. Like my child, who has epilepsy and developmental delays, she's not speaking. She's not verbal. It'll be a long time. If she becomes verbal, it'll be a long time still. So swearing in our house is really not a big deal because I'm not worried that she's going to pick it up. Although I kind of hope she does, because maybe one of her first words would be really cool if she just went.
That would be amazing. Come on. We should play some bets on Zoe's first word being a swear word or not.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, girl, you can do this.
Yeah. No, that would be pretty cool.
Make Uncle Terrence some money. I must say, with my kids, like we said, we never swear, and we've always taught them that in our home we speak in a certain way. In different homes, other people speak in different ways.
Right.
We're not saying that the way they speak is wrong, but we have a certain set of practices in the way we do things, and we need to be okay with other people. We mustn't be influenced by the way other people do it, but we also can't judge other people. With the way they speak, we don't want to like control other people's language. So it's a fine balance. But it was about 2 years ago. Liam came home and he said, "Dad, my friend today said the F word," and I was like, "What? He said the F word? This is like a grade R. It's like a 6-year-old."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wait a second, but Liam, I don't think you've never heard the F word. How do you know what the F word is? How do you even know to say the F word? Like." And he was like, well, my friend said the F word. I'm like, okay, my boy, just between you and me, what is the F word? And he like looks around, like exactly what I did now earlier. Like he looks around like, no, Dad, the F word is freak. It's like, okay. Just to be clear, you said the word freak.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so did he call someone a freak? Because that's not nice at all. That's still, it's not the F word, but it's still not a nice thing to call anyone.
Correct.
It's like, no, he said he was freaking out.
Okay.
I was like, Okay, that's fine.
Hectic.
It's okay. You can still, because I'm thinking, oh my word, I don't want my son to be friends with this boy because he's going to be a negative influence. Meanwhile, the kid's just like, whoa, I'm freaking out, teacher. So the innocence was not lost at that point.
Love that story.
The other story that I have with exactly what you're saying about people, especially from different areas, different cultures, just having a different idea of what swear words were. We were on a camp somewhere, and there was a British guy who had just come down from England, and I said something. I was really tired, and when I'm tired, I say, "Wow, I am buggered," right? Like you're tired. Oh man, I'm really buggered after that work. Okay, it wasn't a workout. It was like a small hike or something. So I said, "Wow, really buggered. I'm really feeling buggered." But of course, for us, it means we're tired. For someone in England, when you are buggered, it has a different meaning. Do you know what buggered means?
I mean, I can only assume that you've been over, that you've been like
Close. It definitely involves of the anal sex variety.
Oh, okay.
So, this very conservative British man has just heard this person who's just met in polite company go, I am buggered. So, I think in his mind, he was shocked. And I'm like, why are you so upset with me? I don't understand. Now, to be fair, I think that's on him, right? If I go to England, I need to know what their context of that word means. But if you're coming to South Africa, you can't be offended by a South African in South Africa using the word as South Africans use the word.
Yeah, and surely as well in the context, I mean, you just climbed a mountain, so
yes, context clues. You
context clues, surely. Yeah. Yeah, no. Swearing is an interesting one too, because you, like you say, when you go to somebody else's house and they're quite happy swearing, like it happens here almost all the time. But I can regulate myself then when somebody else walks in with their kids, because I'm very aware that our situation is quite different to most. So
yeah, I look so the two things I always think about is that A, what are my kids hearing? Because my kids will always mirror my language.
yes,
And B, Julie doesn't swear at all, and she gets quite she really doesn't like it. Like she's used to it with other people, but like in her own space, she really, really doesn't like it. So I have zero need to like everything in my house pushes me not to swear and to find other alternative reasons to use different languages to use rather. But I do find sometimes when I'm with my friends, if I'm telling a story, then, and I'm really wanting to emphasize what like the excitement of the story, or if we're riffing on a joke, then sometimes the character I take on in that riff might be a little bit more swearing. So I find that outside of my house, I might be a little bit more sweary. Don't tell my wife; she'll be very, very appalled with me.
don't worry, she won't know.
She won't listen to this. It's fine.
Yeah, secret safe with me.
Thank you. Thank goodness. But definitely in my house, where I think in places where I will mold how other people feel, like my own house, and definitely with work, like, in a professional setting, I will never swear, because that just feels massively inappropriate. Maybe, but are we just very conservative? Because I know a lot of people who will gladly swear at work.
Well, I was just thinking a little earlier about the fact that maybe I still have a little bit of shame attached to swearing, and shame in the sense that it's not something that I heard I wasn't brought up in an environment that had swearing in it, and it seemed to be something that was very much shunned and shushed. I don't think I was told not to swear, but it wasn't in my realm at all. So when I heard school friends swearing at high school, I was like, "Ooh, these guys aren't cool. I need to distance myself here," which was maybe a little bit too much of an overcorrection. But that sense of shame maybe still sits with me to this day, right? So I'm comfortable in other people's company if they're swearing. And I agree with you, though, that for me, it doesn't make sense if every third or fourth word that drops out your mouth is a swear word. Then I'm losing interest in what you're saying. And then I'm starting to maybe underlyingly, I'm judging you because I'm like, if you've got no other words in your vocabulary to express how you're feeling, I am not sure that we're on the same page here with regards to how to approach situations.
It does seem less, I mean, again, this is very biased, but it does seem less smart. Like, it does make you seem slightly lower IQ, like you say, because you just don't have access.
I'm
to
being
the vocab.
judgmental, aren't I? I'm.
We're both being massively judgmental. Like that is totally fair. Because the irony is that the people who I know who do swear a lot, they're like incredibly smart people, and I think they've just figured out that they don't need to waste their brain space on like thinking of the correct word to use.
Okay.
But also, I mean, and this is my final thought, I think that because we both have a lot of time in radio where you cannot let one swear word slip out in your entire career. Like, you do that once and you are buggered for your entire career. So, that piece of audio will follow you wherever you go. If you just
yes.
like one little live on air, and that's it for you.
Yeah.
So we've been trained to be very aware of every single word that comes out when the mic is hot, when the mic is live. You have to make sure that your language is clean. I've heard people do this in studios where the mic is off and they're talking to each other, they're talking to the engineer, and it's all the language. And as soon as the mic goes on, cleanest language in the world, which is an incredible skill. I wouldn't trust myself with that. I realize that I need to make sure that the rest of my language is clean. Otherwise, the habit is so it catches you.
Very astute observation, though, with regards to switching microphones on and off and knowing whether the cameras are around you and whether you can or can't use certain words. Well, in my book, there are definitely certain words that I do not use. But for me, like, the strongest language I would use is the F word. And in this case, and not freak. Then still feels pretty good to me. But the one I'm probably most comfortable using and haven't used for a while, actually, maybe because I've used it so much, I no longer feel it has any power, is just saying things like, "Oh, crap." It doesn't pop and explode anymore. So I think I have matured through the ranks of curse words, and I hope never to use any of the others. I think I'm happy where I'm at. Put it that way.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Have You Asked Your Dad? As always, we would love to hear about all the questions you would like to ask dads. Send those through to our email, hyaydpod@gmail.com, or of course, send us a DM on Instagram. Search for Have You Asked Your Dad? Follow us there, and we'll have a conversation. We'll be back next week with another episode of Have You Asked Your Dad?